Unit 5, Money Markets, Lecture 7, Money Market Instruments, Returns and Yields. Now in this last section of this lecture, we will be looking at returns and yields on money market instruments. We're going to start by looking at discount rates versus yields, and we're going to be focusing on how we convert between the two. And the reason for this is if you have a discount instrument and a yield instrument and you need to decide between them in terms of which is the better investment, then you can either convert the discount instrument to a yield instrument or vice versa. Now here we have an example of an NCD which is issued for 91 days at a yield of 11.15%, and a treasury bill which is issued for 91 days at a discount rate of 10.8% per annum. Now we need to decide which of these two is the better investment. So we've decided to convert the discount to a yield. And in doing that, we end up with a yield of 11.1%. So on the basis of this, we can see that the NCD is actually the better option when comparing the two instruments. Now we come across the holding period yield previously on a number of occasions, and the idea is still the same. Holding period yield is the yield that is generated, or the return that is generated on an asset for the period of time that you hold the investment. And it's actually the sale proceeds minus the purchase price over the purchase price. And this is ratioed up for the year. It's a nominal rate. And in terms of the money market instrument, it will depend on the day count convention that you are using. Now here we're looking at the holding period yield for a yield instrument which is sold prior to maturity. So it's actually sold in the secondary market. And it is again the sale proceeds of the purchase price. And in terms of the yield instruments, it will depend very much on the coupon rate that is being paid. So in essence, however long you've held the asset for, the price you generated when you sold the asset, or the price you paid for it, and again that is ratioed up for a year depending on the day count convention that you're using. I'm calculating here the holding period yield for a yield instrument. You want to calculate the holding period yield for the 91-day NCD if it was sold after 61 days. And essentially in this instance you have 30 days left to maturity. So whoever is buying this is going to hold this until maturity for 30 days. So that is the reason why the calculation is actually being ratioed up by 365 over 30. And essentially we're using 365 as our day count convention, or actual over 365, because this is a South African instrument. Finally, we look at effective rates versus nominal rates. Now, when you have two money market instruments that have the same maturity, so if they're 90-day instruments or 270-day instruments, you can convert between discount rates and yields if they are discount and yield instruments. Once you get to the point where they actually have differing maturities, so you have a 90-day instrument and a 181-day instrument, you cannot convert between discount and yields anymore. You now have to convert between nominal and effective rates, because effective annual rates are the great equalizer regardless of any differences in the features of the instruments. So here we're looking at how to convert between effective and nominal. And the effective rates, as I said, can be compared across all different instruments. So here we're comparing or calculating the effective annual yield for an NCD with a holding period yield of 10.95% and 30 days to mature. Our holding period yield is a nominal yield. It's from an example we've used previously. And once we've done our calculations, we end up with an effective annual yield of 11.51%. And what this means is that now we can compare this instrument to any other instrument whose effective annual yield has been calculated, and we can make a decision about which of them is the better investment on that basis.